What's up, respiratory world? Just wanted to give the word that since I started my career in respiratory therapist, it might have been one of the best decisions I made personally for me because it was a decision that, kind of combined me doing things that I genuinely love to do, patient care, advocacy, um, being, a help to the patients that, need the therapy that, we give. But before even, respiratory therapy, I was a patient advocate in some regards. I was a home health aide, and I worked in a home facility taking care of patients, and that was my life for a good period of time, and it worked out. And it was a benefit to me because I enjoy genuinely what I like to do, but the pay wasn't sufficient. The pay wasn't enough in order for me to ultimately do what I wanted to do in life. Possibly move out of the state that I was born in, possibly travel to certain different parts of the world, possibly do things that I ultimately wanted to do. So when I was given the opportunity to get into healthcare, I stumbled into respiratory therapy. But I mean, it was one of the very best decisions I made. It was a difficult program, to say the least. I teamed up with some of my classmates, and we, started doing study before and after class and things of that sort. And then, I eventually got, through the program. I graduated, worked my way up through the ranks of like nursing home. When I say through the ranks, I mean like, places I was able to work at. Because when I started, 12 years ago, I wasn't able to go directly to a hospital. I'm glad that there's that path for people nowadays. But even the hospitals are paying for, tuition reimbursement. So you probably wouldn't come out with any loans or anything like that. But that wasn't my path, and I wish it was my path because I wouldn't have that issue now. Um, but it definitely has allowed me to travel the world, see different countries, able to, get my first home. Um, and like I said, I genuinely enjoy what I do. I genuinely like what I do. It's definitely my calling. I enjoy the patient care and the patient interactions. I enjoy, sometimes speaking with the family. Sometimes that can be a little bit of a thing also. But for the most part, I mean, it's not. I don't dread coming to work. I don't dread anything that I do. I really, appreciate, that I was led to this field and I was able to actually, become a good therapist and like, you know, um, my, my career, my path. It is a good path and a good career because the money that you make a lot of times. I mean, you are able to over years have a better compensation. I don't think that I thought about it as greatly when I first got into the career field, but it was, it has proved to be a great career for me because, like I said, I've been able to travel the world. I've been able to do, different places in the world. I got much more places I want to travel, but I've been able to have a luxury of life that I worked really hard for. I'm working really, really hard for, but it doesn't always feel like work when you enjoy what you're doing. So that would be my advice to, anybody that, is thinking about respiratory therapist or is thinking about healthcare or I mean you got to really enjoy what you do because you have people like lives that you are dealing with on a continuous basis, and you have to deal with families. Just it's not always the best outcome. A lot of times it's not the best outcome. So how do you approach those situations? How do you be of benefit to people that may need you in a time of need, the patients as well as their families? So something to be mindful of. But yeah, it turned out to be a great career field, and I think that I've been blessed to be able to stumble into something that I actually really enjoy doing, and it doesn't always feel like work. And I sometimes even look forward to even coming into work just to get out of the monotony of everyday life outside of what I normally do. It's some change in pace and some change in my normal things that I'd be doing if I wasn't at work. So I am it worked out greatly for me, And I think that if you're getting into the field of medical care, it's something to heavily consider because I mean it can be difficult. It's a lot to learn. There's always something new to learn, but that's also a part of it that kind of intrigues me because I'm able to, you know, I'm able to, you know, learn and to be intrigued by the things that I didn't know before that I'm learning now. So I mean, it's definitely something to consider. I mean, and not for nothing, you make good money doing it. You make good money, you can get more credentials. You can move up once you get more years of experience. You get sometimes annual raises and stuff like that. Just much like with other any other job, but the field has been expanded for years. And it seems like right now that a lot of the hospitals has been low on respiratory therapists, so they've been running a little low. But I mean, I like it. I enjoy it greatly, and I mean, I wouldn't suggest that anybody get into the field if that's not something that you think you would genuinely like. Because it's not like you can just show up and just give 30% or 25%. You have to come up and be ready to perform because you never know what that night is going to look like. You never know what's going to happen. You never know if you're going to hear a rapid response or a cold blue. You never know what's going to happen. So just be prepared and be ready for the workday.